So open up After Effects. We're going to create a new project, and I want you to go to New Composition. We're going to change the time duration here to 10 seconds. We're going to change the background color to this. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to start up here. I'm going to drag this screen down a little bit. And I'm going to start off by creating black text. All right. After I type the text, I'm going to deselect the layer, select the layer again. Now that I'm outside of the text editing option, I can center the anchor point and center this layer. So Control Home, center this, and I'm going to animate the scale. So first what I'm going to do is set the initial scale and position transformation where it's at right now. So I'm going to open up Transform. I'm going to turn on Position and Scale. I'm going to select both of these keyframes. I'm going to zoom in on the timeline, and I'm going to go to, it's 30 frames a second, so at 1 second I want this set of words right here to be on the screen in the same position and the same scale. So now I'm going to take the scrubber this way in between 0 and 10 frames. You can also see over here on the display that I'm at 5 frames. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the scale and I'm going to change the position. Right now if I change one of these, I'm going to change both because they're both selected. So I'm going to deselect by clicking down here, and I'm going to go back to the scale, and I'm going to unlink the chain, and I'm going to have the text scale up from the middle. So I'm going to change this to 0, press enter, and now as I drag the scrubber to the right, it's going to form like this. And I want it to slide in from the left-hand side. So as I go over here, I'm going to start the position, and you can move the layer with the move tool right here. Make sure you don't do it with the text tool, or you can change the position right here on the X or the Y. In this case, the X, I'm just going to move it straight over. It's probably quicker if I just click and drag it and hold shift and drag it to the left. And now when I press play, it's hello world. It comes in from the left hand side. But that looks kind of lame, so what I'm going to do is move this keyframe right here. Okay, so that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is close this up, and I'm going to rotate this text. So I'm going to go to rotation at, let's say 20 frames right here. This text is going to stay on the screen, and then it's going to rotate out and change scale. So I'm going to hit rotation. I want this rotation to start here, and I want it to end right here. So in that time, from this keyframe to this keyframe, I want it to rotate once. So I'm going to press 1. Okay, and I want the scale to go back to 0 on the, I'm going to move that keyframe back. Actually, this is a good lesson right here in position. So I'm going to drag this scrubber back here to 1 second where the position of the text is in the middle, and I'm going to clear it out just to show you. I don't like that position anyways, but this is also a good lesson in how you can erase everything and why not to do it or when to do it. So we just got rid of all the position keyframes, so now this text just stays here, and it's going to rotate out as it changes. So right here, the Y is at 0, so I can select this keyframe, press Control C, and I'm going to move the scrubber over the point right here where I want it to be 0%, and I'm going to Control V it. But you will notice that it immediately starts changing scale from this keyframe right here. But what I want it to do is maintain its size up until this point where the rotation starts. So I'm going to drag the scrubber to this point. I'm going to select the last keyframe, Control C, and Control V it. Now it will maintain that position, that scale, and then rotate out. All right, I'm going to do a couple more things. We're going to stop. Now I'm going to mess with the ellipse tool, and we're just going to use yellow, why not? And I'm going to hold shift and make a perfect circle, press Control Alt Home to center the anchor point, Control Home to center the object to the layer. Now with the text, with the shape tool selected, I'm going to go to the selection tool, because if you try to do anything on this layer with the shape tool selected, it's just going to keep adding more shapes, which I don't want to do. So what I'm going to do, center the object, and I'm going to animate the scale. So I'm going to press S to animate the scale, and as the text goes here at 1 second when the text is fully formed. I'm going to drag this layer underneath. I want the yellow to scale up. So I'm going to start the scale right at this point, and I want it to be 0. I'm not going to uncheck this, and I'm going to change it to 0. And then at the point when the text begins to rotate off, which is 20 frames, I want the scale to be, of this circle, to be completely filling the screen. So you just drag it until it fills the screen, and then see what it looks like by pressing play. So that happens a little too slow for my taste, so I'm going to drag the keyframe this way. Alright, now we're going to adjust the keyframes of this text layer. The point of this is to show you how you can change. Right now the speed of this scale is pretty slow, so what I want to do is change it up so it happens much quicker. So I'm going to change this first keyframe here so it happens rather quick, and then it's going to stay until 1 second here. I'm going to drag all the other keyframes so the rotation and the scale change happen right there, and they still happen slow, so I'm going to take the last keyframes and move them closer so that scale change and rotation happens a lot sooner. So now, okay, so I have scale and rotation animated here, and down on the bottom I have scale animated on this shape layer. I want that shape to come in as the text has gone to its original scale, so I'm just going to click on this entire layer and drag the whole thing. So let's say I want the second keyframe to line up with 20 frames. Okay, then that scales away. Now, you can, I'm going to press Control A to select all the layers. I'm going to press U. U will show you every transformation on every layer that you have a keyframe on if you press Control A to select all layers. Otherwise, it'll just show you what is on that layer. So if I select Hello World and press U, it's going to show me everything on that layer that is animated. If I press Control A to select all layers and press U, it's going to show me every transformation animation on every layer. So you can tap that again to get rid of it, or you can press it to open it. So what I'm going to do here is after that text goes away, I'm going to scale this circle keyframe scale back to where it came from. So right now it's 0% key scale here, and then like 486% right here. So once the text goes away and at 10 frames, I want it to go from 486 back to 0. So the easiest way to do that is to just reverse these keyframes by Control C, Control V, pasting that, and then maintaining the 5 frame difference between these two keyframes here and this. So at 10 frames, if I go to 15, and I can check perfectly over here and go back to 15, I'm going to copy and paste the first set of keyframes right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is select all the layers, Control A, press U to close them all up, and I'm going to rename this layer right here yellow. I'm going to press enter and type yellow and press enter again, and I'm going to press Control D to duplicate it. So now I'm going to select these two layers. I'm going to press U to open them up, and I'm going to change the color of yellow to red. And now I'm going to go up to the fill and change it to red. Right now you cannot see the yellow scale of the circle below it because red is directly on top of it. So what I want to do is stagger. See ya. Stagger these layers so you can see the yellow come in and then the red will go away. But the problem is the yellow needs to go away after the red. So if you notice right here, these keyframes for the red layer do not change scale until after the yellow has already happened. So if you select these and then move them to the left, now you'll see the red change and then the yellow change. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate the yellow, I'm going to drag it underneath the yellow, and I'm going to name it blue. And now I'm going to press U to open up the options here. I'm going to select these keyframes and drag them to the left, so this scale change will happen first, and then the yellow, then the red will go away, then the yellow will go away, and I need to stagger this to the right. So the last layer to change scale to go back to where it was will be the blue layer. So I need to change the blue layer up here to the fill, click on this, and now okay, so I'm going to go back up here to the text layer, and I'm going to make all these changes on the text layer happen in the middle of all those changes. So I'm going to select all of this, the beginning keyframes of the text layer, and I'm going to drag them to the right. Alright, so the changes of the text at the top, if you're keeping track at home, is the first scale keyframe is at 20, and I'm going to go to the second keyframe change at 23, and then the scale and the rotation happen at 101. Let's make them happen at 1 so it's easier to keep track of, and then they go away at 106. Let's make it 105 so it's nice and even. So now in the end you'll look like this, and that is where we're going to stop today.